Interviews can be quite stressful and nerve-wracking for the majority of us. But if you suffer with anxiety or a mental health condition, this can actually be a lot more intense. So I wanted to share with you today 5 of my top tips that hopefully will help. Tip number 1 is to look after yourself. Whether you have 30 minutes or an hour the day before, do something for you, whether it's reading a book, going for a walk, just something that helps you sort of take your mind off things slightly. Try and also avoid caffeine the day before as best as you can, as this does play a big impact on anxiety jitters. I would set an alarm earlier than you usually intend to get up for the interview and get an early night's sleep. That way you'll wake up feeling a bit more refreshed. Tip number 2 is visualization. I'm quite a big believer in positive affirmations, and I do think this also plays a big part of anxiety. So again, whether this is on the morning if you have time or the night before, switch off your mobile phone, any TV, any distractions, any technology at all around you, and get in a quiet place just for 10-15 minutes and just really sit and think, what do you want to achieve from this interview? What do you want to overcome from this interview? And just really sit and picture what that looks like for you. Tip number 3, do your research. It sounds quite obvious. However, I'm talking about a little bit more than just researching the organisation. Interview questions are a great way of prepping for interview. TPP actually do offer resources for you, and we're more than happy to help support where we can. If you line up these interview questions and answers the day before, the chances are on the day the questions they ask will be fairly similar and you'll feel a little bit more prepped and prepared. If your interview is on site, make sure you do plan your route, any engineering works, traffic, anything that could interfere at all, and do leave early. Even if you find yourself floating around for 30 minutes in the area, you're better that than being late. If your interview is virtual, again, technical issues can play a big impact in this. So wake up early, make sure your internet is working. If there's any issues at all, at least you can let them know earlier on, and there'll always be a workaround. Tip number 4, anxiety fidgeting. Yes, this is a thing. I myself have actually experienced this before. Everyone handles anxiety differently, and in an interview process, you might find yourself wiggling around a bit more than normal, or touching your face, playing with your hands. My best advice here is, when you know that that is happening, try wiggling your toes, somewhere that's very discreet, that they don't know, but it is still a way of you releasing that anxiety pressure. Tip number 5 is reducing any added stress. For example, clothing. Yes, it's important to look smart to your interview, but also you want to make sure you're comfortable. There isn't anything digging around anywhere. You want to make sure that you're equally prepared any issues that arise stomach-wise. So whether you need to take medication with you, anything at all that you feel you need to be prepped and prepared for that happens when you have an anxiety attack. And also podcasts. I can't recommend them enough. Even if you're not a podcast listener, there's so many different options out there to help prep you mentally before an interview. So on your route to interview or an hour before your interview at home, try and listen to something, whether it's mental health related, whether it's a storybook time, anything at all that you feel might help reduce any added and additional stress. So those are my top 5 tips for dealing with anxiety during interviews. Hopefully it's helped, and I'd be really keen to know if there's anything you would recommend.